Welcome to Steve the Drummer at YouTube.com, where we're bringing yesterday's music into tomorrow. And today I want to continue along with part 2 of my ATV versus Roland drum comparison. Part 2, we're going to talk specifically about the cymbals on the ATV drum set versus the Roland drum set, and specifically what I've got, as I said in the earlier video, on the Roland drum set, I started off playing the TD50 drum set, which was this really smaller pads and the smaller, it was a compact rack and small pads and small cymbals. And then I upgraded that to a TD30 drum set, which I used off of reverb.com. And then ultimately I took that and upgraded it with a TD50 digital pack. I got the TD50 module with the digital snare drum and the digital ride cymbal to go with that, and I used that module, that ride cymbal, and that snare drum with both my my Roland drum set and with my ATV drum set. And so today we're going to talk specifically about the cymbals. So let's get to it. Okay, so as I said in my earlier video, number one, this is an opinion video. This is strictly my opinion. Doesn't necessarily make it right or wrong, but I have had some experience playing Roland products now for give or take roughly 3 years, and I've been playing some ATV drums for about 9 months now, going on a year. So I do have a little bit of experience with both products, and I wanted to share my opinion. I'm going to try to relate this once again to appearance, playability, durability, and overall quality. So looking at the Roland cymbals, as I said earlier, initially I had a TD50 drum set. It had the really small cymbals. The hi-hat was not on a stand. It mounted to the rack, and it just had a foot controller to go with it. I believe that's called a CY5. And then I think it had two CY8s that came with it, that functioned as a crash and as a ride cymbal. And those are single zone cymbals. They don't, you can't get a bell sound and all that stuff out of the ride. And so then when I upgraded to the TD30 drum set, that came with a VH11 hi-hat, which was mounted to a hi-hat stand, and it had a CY12 as a crash cymbal, and I think a CR13 as a ride cymbal, and that was a 3-zone cymbal. So I was able to get a bell, a bow, and an edge sound out of that, and it was roughly 13 inches in diameter, and a crash cymbal, and then a hi-hat that mounted to a stand. And so then I got as I said earlier, I've got the TD50 digital upgrade packs. I've got the 18-inch digital ride, the 18-inch Roland digital ride cymbal, and that basically is able to be muted by just placing a hand on it versus having to choke it by pinching the edge. So the playability on that cymbal is greatly improved. So that's, looking at the Roland line of products, they've got the really small stuff that comes with their starter drum sets, the CY5, the CY8, and then getting into the bigger stuff, they've got the CR12, a CR13, a CR14, and a CR15, I believe, and that's ultimately what I ended up with on my Roland drum set was a CY15, which is a 3-zone cymbal for a ride cymbal, and then CY12s and 13s for crash cymbals. So if you look at all this stuff, CY5, CY8, CR12, 13, 14, 15, the diameters on these things, on the small side, you're looking at maybe 8 to 10 inches at the most. And then as you get up there in products a little bit, the diameters go from like 10 or 12 inches up to 15 inches, and then ultimately their digital ride cymbal is 18 inches. So they get larger, and larger is better in a lot of respects. I think, as I said earlier in the other video, Roland is a tried and true brand, and their products are definitely of good quality. I think that when you think about appearance, based on the fact that the cymbals are somewhat smaller, that may be a slight detriment, that the appearance may not be quite as good. When you think about the playability aspects, I think that their products, when used the way they're designed to be used, play really well. However, they don't trigger 360 degrees. They typically have a triggering area which encompasses about somewhere between a third and a half of the playing surface, and then the rest of it is not an actual triggering area. And then, you know, too, the Roland cymbals kind of hang a little bit different. If you look at the underside of the cymbal, it basically sits on like a little V thing, and so the cymbal basically rocks back and forth, maybe in a little bit more of a two-dimensional way, as opposed to the ATV cymbals, which, you know, are on a traditional stand, and they actually kind of move more like real cymbals. So when it comes to the playability, I'm going to give it a pretty good score, but we'll kind of unpack that a little bit as we get a little bit further into this. Where I feel like Roland once again really thrives, sorry, is durability. In all the Roland cymbals that I've owned and all the Roland cymbals products that I have played, I have never had an issue with anything breaking. It just works, which is good. The hi-hats, I have the VH11 once again, which mounts to a hi-hat stand. They've also still got a VH13, which is their Cadillac version, basically, of their hi-hats. Have not played that, though I'm actually debating getting one of those. The VH11 I feel like works really well. Of any Roland product that I have, though, that one may be kind of getting to the edge of breaking down after a few years of use, where it doesn't trigger as reliably as it did when I first got it. I get some double triggers. I get some issues where it triggers and I didn't play it. I think that my VH11 has got some miles on it now, and it is getting to a point where it is breaking down. It's probably the first Roland product that I have that I'm having any issues with. Now that being said, that could also be the stand that it's mounted to. I've heard it's in certain cases, if you have a hi-hat stand that's really springy, that you can get some uneven triggering. And so I'm going to play that VH13 hi-hat later today, and I'm going to try it with a different hi-hat stand and see if that solves my problem. I'm sorry, VH11. So let's take a second out and let's talk about the ATV cymbals. Conversely, ATV, they've got a C14, a C16, and a C18, and all those are essentially crash cymbals. I believe the 18 can also function as a ride cymbal as well. But so they've got a 14-inch cymbal, a 16-inch cymbal, an 18-inch cymbal. In addition to that, their hi-hats are the H14s. They've got two sizes of splash cymbals. They've got a 10-inch and a 12-inch splash cymbal. They've got a 17-inch China and a 17-inch FX cymbal, which basically has the holes cut in it like you would get in regular acoustic cymbals of today. So that's a pretty extensive line, and as you can see right off the bat, pretty much all of these dimensions are larger than the Roland counterparts. A couple of things I will say is they don't have any digital products. They don't have a digital ride cymbal. They don't have a digital snare drum. However, they do have 360 degree playability. You can strike the ATV cymbals anywhere on the playing surface, and it will trigger, which is a pretty nice feature actually. That makes it pretty realistic. Another thing that I really like about my ATV cymbals, number one, there's the size. Number two, there is the extensiveness of the line. But number three, the profile of this cymbal is actually thinner. And where that really comes into play is when I go to choke the cymbal. There's really no way to describe it unless you actually get the cymbal out and see for yourself. But I feel like the thinner profile of the cymbal makes it more realistic on a lot of levels. So so there's that. They're hi-hats, the ADH14 product. And I made a dedicated video specifically about the hi-hats, and that's in the same playlist here with all my gear videos. But it functions differently than either the VH11, 12, or 13, their Roland counterparts. And that is that as opposed to like a pressure sensor sensing whether or not the hi-hat's open or closed, it basically has a light sensor inside. Completely different way of looking at it, or a completely different way of doing it. Some pros and cons to that. Number one, I guess a con is you have to plug that in. So there's an additional power cord that is required to use that, and additionally make sure you turn them on. I've got to say honestly, with my ATV hi-hats, and they're 14 inches, they're a nice realistic size. I have a love-hate relationship with this product, honestly. When I first got them, I didn't like them, and I got my VH11 hi-hat back out and used that for a while. And then I went back to my ATV hi-hats, and I messed with it a little bit harder, a little bit more intensely, trying to figure out how to get them to trigger the best. And I got to a point where they triggered fairly reliably, and I was moderately happy with them. And then once again, I became disappointed with them, and I put them away, and I just played the VH11 hi-hats exclusively. Here recently, I've gotten the ATV hi-hats back out once again, maybe third time's a charm, and I'm trying them, and I'd say right now my liking of this product is somewhere around maybe a 6 to a 6.5 on a 10 scale. I'm really thinking that I'm going to have to bite the bullet and buy the Roland VH13 hi-hats, which at this point is the best product that they have available for hi-hats. I'm thinking that I'm going to have to bite the bullet and actually get those hi-hats and spend the money on it. Maybe I can get a decent deal on some used ones. But anyhow, so kind of circling back here to our whole appearance, playability, durability, overall quality. I feel like the ATV cymbals, for the most part, the line is very comprehensive. They've got dimensions from 10 inches up to 18 inches. They've got cymbals that are dedicated as splashes, as effect cymbals, as chinas, as crashes, as rides, hi-hats. It is a very complete line. And the fact that the sizes are larger, I think that they look, their appearance looks good in that regard. Now, however, big caveat here, I was very, I had a very effective way of cleaning my my Roland cymbals. I used Armor All on them, and there's probably some better products to use, but I was able to Armor All my Roland cymbals and keep them looking nice and a nice shiny black. I haven't found a good way to clean these ATV cymbals. They look nice, in fact, from the standpoint of their size, but I have not found an effective way to clean them up and make them look good that way. Playability, the 360-degree surface, the larger surface, the fact that it's on a traditional tilter, and they just kind of move like real cymbals do. They're thinner, they have a thinner profile. I believe that from a playability standpoint, that the ATV cymbals are awesome, in my opinion. Durability. Now here's where I have run into a problem, and actually in particular with this cymbal right here, this is a 16-inch, this would be a ADC16. This cymbal, I believe, has a short in it somewhere. The choke function doesn't necessarily work all that effectively anymore. In fact, it probably only chokes about 1 out of every 3 or 4 times that I try to choke it. And they're starting to get some dead spots where if I strike the cymbal, it doesn't trigger at all. And so that being said, I've only used this cymbal for 9 months now. I've used it pretty extensively. I practice on this drum set a lot. I've taken it out and played it on gigs with 2 different bands, and probably altogether I've played 6 or 7 gigs. And I do hit pretty hard, especially in a live context. And so, but well, you know, once again, I kind of got to give this one to Roland. I have never had any issues, with the exception of the fact that my VH11 may be starting to wear out after about 3 years. I've never had any real durability issues with any Roland products, but 9 months in with this ATV cymbal, I'm starting to run into some issues. Overall quality, I think both manufacturers make great cymbals. I think maybe the ATV line is more comprehensive at this point, and so I'm gonna give the edge to ATV on cymbals. So real quick, just want to close this out. Thanks for watching. This has been part 2 of the ATV versus Roland comparison, and I've been looking at the ATV cymbals versus the Roland cymbals. Once again, both manufacturers, great products. I've been very happy. A few minor issues here and there, but I think that both manufacturers make some really nice products. I want to thank everybody for stopping by, and if you like the video, please press the like button, subscribe, share the video, and stay tuned for part 3, where we're going to talk about stands versus racks.